who are putting in works in order to get salvation. Shalom. All right, so we're going to deal with three things today. I want to deal with Daniel chapter 7. I want to deal with Matthew chapter 25. And I want to look at Revelations chapter 20. Let's go over here to the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 10. It says, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Hamashiach, Christ, that everyone may receive the things done in his body, according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad." Now, the reason why I brought this up is because I charge Israel, I charge so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, I charge to question the validity and the doctrine that all Israel shall receive and the lake of fire and judgment. And I believe why we have been fair concerning this issue is because what I'm seeing is I think that a lot of brothers are missing the chronology of prophecy. And what we have is that essentially what we got is we got the Bible, right? And we got different perspectives, different witnesses observing the same prophecies. And what we're doing is we're trying to piece the prophecies together. And brothers are stumbling. It is my belief that brothers are stumbling in the order and chronology of prophecy. So according to 2 Corinthians, it says that there's a judgment seat. All right, that there's a judgment. And there's many judgments. All right, case in point, let's go over here to the book of Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, right after the book of Psalms. I want to say, Call halal Yahawashi Yahawashi Ba'ashim Kadash. All praises to your name, Heavenly Father. Sorry if I didn't say that in the beginning of this video. Ecclesiastes. Let's go over here to Ecclesiastes. Let's go above to verse 18. Oh no, not 18. Verse 16. It says right here, "And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there." So that's why when you jump down to verse 20, it says, "All go into one place, all are of the dust, and all turn to dust again. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, the spirit of the beast that goeth downward?" All right? And judgment takes place on the earth. So the spirit of a man goes up to the Father. The Father administers his judgment, and then he has to live his judgment out on the earth. Case in point, let's go over here to the book of Luke, chapter 9. Book of St. John, chapter 9. I always get that mixed up. So here's an example of judgment being under the sun. On the earth. After you go to the Father and come back on the earth. It says, "And Yahawashi passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" See? So that shows you that this individual who was born blind could have done something, could have sinned against the Father in order to be born blind. In order for that to happen, the brother who was born blind had to have been alive in a previous life. All right? And when he died, however he lived his life, he died, went to the Father, and then the Father sent him back on earth to live out his judgment. But the scriptures say that there is a judgment of Christ, the judgment seat of Christ. So if we're going before God, right? Let's look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 17. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked. So we can clearly see that there's been many judgments. There's been many times that we've had to appear to the Father. But there is something called, let's get that. But let's go to the book of John, chapter 12, and verse 47. And if any man hear my words and believe not, I judge him not. For I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. He that rejected me and receiveth not my words hath one that judgeth him. The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day. So as we can clearly see, there is a final day. There is a final judgment. All right? That the scriptures speak about. Now, Yahawashi just said that I judge. Let me read that again. I judge him not, for I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. Okay? So, we need to rectify these two passages. Alright? We need to rectify these two passages. It says right here, let's go over here to the book of Revelations, chapter 20, and let's look at verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahawashi, and for the word of God, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power. They shall be priests of God and of Hamashiach. So we got two people here, God and Hamashiach, or Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Now, the reason why I'm going here is because we see that the righteous decide not to take that Quran. They're going to reign with Hamashiach for 1,000 years. Let's go over here to the book of Matthew. Because where's judgment in all of this? Because when we read it, it says that they are going to rule with Hamashiach for 1,000 years. And then it says that there's going to be people who are not going to be alive. And then it says right here, verse 9, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the fire. The beast and the false prophet shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Now, when Yahawashi gets here, he's going to land on the Mount of Olives, and he's going to go into the land of Basra in Israel and destroy the Edomites and all of the other nations, all right, in the battle of Armageddon. It is taught that during that time, nuclear missiles are going to be flying from one end of the earth to the other, and that the elect are going to be beamed up in a spaceship, in a UFO, and then they're going to come back down and take the kingdom. Now, at what point do we all sit before the judgment seat of Yahawashi? Where do we sit at this judgment seat? Because it is my perspective that there are two judgments. There's the judgment seat of Mashiach, and then there's the judgment seat of the Father, which is the last day. When we read in Revelations, it says that Yahawashi is going to reign for 1,000 years, and he's going to reign with those that didn't take the mark for 1,000 years. But those people that are dead, their souls, they're not coming back down. After that soul goes up to the Father, they have to stay there and wait until the final judgment. Now, what about everybody else who's still alive? You're going to have thousands, millions of people that have the mark of the beast in them, and they're still alive, and they haven't died by a nuclear missile. What's going to happen to them? What it says in Matthew 25. And you see, this is why I'm saying it is my thought that Yahawashi judges the flesh of man. That when he gets here, it is his job to kill, or to allow to let live, and to be a slave. Because what does Yahawashi say in the book of Luke? It says right here, the book of Luke, chapter 19 and verse 27, it says, But those my enemies, which were not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. Now, when is this taking place? Because it says that the Son of God shall sit upon his throne in Matthew chapter 25. Let's go back. The book of Matthew chapter 25 and verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations. See, this is when that takes place. All nations are going to be gathered to him, and you're going to have people that just don't want to get down with the program. They don't want to bow down to a big black man with white woolly hair. You know what I'm saying? It's at this moment in time that Yahawashi is going to say in the book of Luke chapter 9 verse 27, But those mine enemies which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. So after these guys have gotten their heads decapitated and they're dead, what happens to their spirit? Does Yahawashi have the authority to take that spirit and throw it into Gehenna? Let's get this, same book, the book of Luke, chapter 12 and verse 4. And I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them that kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. But I will forewarn you whom ye shall fear. Now, why are we not fearing man? Why are we fearing the Lord? Yahawashi is going to give us a primary example, a primary reason as to why we need to fear Yahweh over man. And the argument that he laid out was that men can kill the body. It says right here, and after that have no more that they can do. Verse 5. But I will forewarn you whom ye shall fear. Fear him which after he hath killed hath power to cast into hell. Now, does Yahawashi have that authority to cast a soul into hell? Or does Yahawashi have the authority to kill the body and to give access to the kingdom to whom he will? Because Yahawashi is clearly telling us who we need to fear. It says, fear him which after he hath killed hath power to cast into hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him. That's why I say there's two judgments. You have the judgment seat. You have three judgments, really. You have the regular Joe Schmo judgment that we receive after we've lived like 500 years ago, 2,000 years, 3,000 years ago. Let's just say you were living. The end of time was not 3,000 years ago. So if you died in sin, you go appear before the Father, and then he sent you back down on earth where you might be blind, you might be poor, or you might just live a life of struggle, right? That's that judgment. That's one. Then you have another judgment, which is the judgment seat of Christ, of Hamashiach, which Paul talks about, where we're going to have to give an account for all of our works. What about every idle word shall be brought into judgment? What about those things, right? Let's go over here to the book of Luke, same book. Luke chapter 12 and verse 44. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he hath. 45. And if that servant say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat men's servants and maidens, and to eat and drink and to be drunken, the Lord of that servant will come in the day when he looketh not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him asunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. So when is this taking place? This is taking place when Yahawashi gets here, right? The Lord and that servant which knew his Lord's will. So now we're coming to somebody else. So we have somebody who says the Lord, Yahawashi is delaying his coming. It's been 2,000 years ago, 2,000 years, he's still not here. That individual begins to abuse the congregation and to beat people, right? Now we're coming to the second individual, and it says, this second individual, he knew the Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. So the difference is that the first guy, he got cut asunder. He got put to death. The second dude, all he got was beaten with many stripes. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes. So now we have a third person who didn't know anything, right? But did things that were worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to him, and to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. You see? So when is this going to take place? When is he? And we're talking about the servants of the Lord. We're talking about Israelites like myself who strive to do the work. When is Yahawashi going to judge us? When is the judgment for us? And because when we read the judgment of the Father ain't beating nobody with stripes. He's just straight throwing your soul into a lake of fire. Yahawashi is putting you to death. You see, but after Yahawashi puts you to death in that judgment, you're in the hands of the Father. So it's at that time when we appear before the judgment seat of Christ, Hamashiach, and we have to give an account for everything that we've said and everything that we've done. It says right here in the book of Matthew, all right, chapter 25 verse 31, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth the sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Now we remember reading in Revelations where it stated that those that followed Yahawashi and did not take the mark of the beast, they lived and reigned with him for how long? 1,000 years. So, is that taking place here? When he's dividing the sheep from the goats? Because check this out. Let's go over here to the book of Revelations. Back to chapter 20. So it says right here that after, it says verse 5, but the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection, right? So the first resurrection takes place when? When Yahawashi gets here. What does Paul say in the book of 1 Thessalonians? Chapter 4 and verse 16. Or actually 4 and verse 15. For this we say unto you by the word of by Yahweh, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. Okay? For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with this shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God. And the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we be forever with him. Okay, now where's the judgment seat of Christ at? And we see that that's the first resurrection, right? So we're talking about the dead in Hamashiach that did not take the mark of the beast. They're going to get resurrected when the missiles come, right? It says right here, verse 6, Revelation chapter 20 and verse 6, Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power. But they shall be priests of God in Hamashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, so now we're talking about after this 1,000 years, because clearly Yahawashi at this point, he divided the sheep from the goats already, because we're reigning and we're ruling with him in the kingdom. It says, when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So it's after this 1,000-year reign that, John the Revelator is clearly saying that Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And he's going to deceive Gog and Magog. And then we go to verse 9. It says, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints. Now, brothers talk about how we're going to have to be brought into the wilderness. We're going to have to be brought under the bond of the covenant. And Yahawashi is going to purge out the rebels. Well, are these rebels the ones that got many stripes, or what? Are these rebels the ones that got put on his right hand as the sheep? And why is the scripture still saying that Yahawashi has to pass judgment and kill off the rebels? It's because we're going to have to appear before the seat of Hamashiach. And this takes place on earth. Right? It says, and they compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Now, is this fire that came down from God the nuclear missiles? Or is this eternal fire, the same fire that came down and destroyed Sodom? And they shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. But, brothers don't teach that. Brothers don't teach as thus saith the Lord, as it is written. They say, no, that's just for a period of time. That's not day and night. That's not forever. That's just for a long time. That's not what the scriptures say. Then it says, and I saw, and now here we get to the point. Verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it. Now, who is this? Is this Yahawashi? Because don't we have a similar precept in the book of Daniel chapter 7? It says, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away. So when Yahawashi comes, is the heavens and the earth going to flee away from him? So it seems like, again, going back to my point, there's three judgments. Really two. The judgment seat of Hamashiach and the judgment seat of Yahweh, the Father himself, who has the power to throw your soul, your spirit, into Gehenna. Let's go over here to the book of, let's stay here, verse 12. And I saw the dead. So now we're talking about dead people. During the time of Yahawashi, when he's gathering all nations together, these people are all alive. So that's why I bring this attention to you, family. Reason within yourselves. I'm saying that Yahawashi is going to judge those that are alive. But after the 1,000-year reign, it says this. Watch this. First Corinthians chapter 15. First Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 23. It says, but every man, 23. It says, but every man in his own order, Hamashiach the first fruits, afterward they that are Hamashiach's at his coming, then cometh the end. So after, it says, so even when Yahawashi comes, it's not the end necessarily. We still got other things that need to be done. There's still prophecies that still need to take place. People act like when Yahawashi gets here, all the prophecies in the scriptures are going to be completely fulfilled. No, when he gets here, there's still prophecy that he must fulfill. And it's going to take a period of 1,000 years. It says, then cometh the end. So after all of this, when he, who's the he? Yahawashi. When Yahawashi shall have delivered up the kingdom to who? To God, even the Father. So the scriptures say that Yahawashi is going to rule, and then after he's subjugated the whole earth and he's in rulership, it says that he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign till he hath put all his enemies under his feet. So when Yahawashi gets here, that's why it says in the book of Luke, all those mine enemies that would not that I reign over them, bring them hither and slay them before me. This is going to take a span of 1,000 years. And even, and you can see that. Let's go over here to the book of Zechariah. Chapter 14, I believe. It says right here in the book of Zechariah, chapter 14 and verse 16. It says, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This is all taking place during the 1,000-year reign until he has subjugated his enemies and put all of them under his authority. The reason why I'm going here is to show you that there's still going to be rebellion. Even though Yahawashi is here, there's still going to be rebellion. They shall come up to keep the feast of the tabernacles. Verse 17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt come up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord shall smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. You see? So now going back to 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 24. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and authority and power. And these things take time. For he must reign till he hath put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. All right, let's go over here to the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 10. Actually, the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like a pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as the burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set. You see, now we're going to the third judgment of the Father. Why? Because let's go back to the book of Revelations, chapter 20 and verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. So it seems like the dead, right, small and great, they're standing not before Yahawashi, they're standing before the Father. This is a totally different, this is judgment after Yahawashi passed judgment on the earth. And the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. So he's judging the dead. The Father, Yahweh, is judging the dead. Yahawashi, Matthew chapter 25. The Father said, according to Yahawashi himself, Yahawashi is not judging the dead. He's not judging the dead. In the book of Matthew 25 and 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as the shepherd divided his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left. It seems like all these people are alive, not dead. These are not dead sheep. These are not dead goats. Right? And he says, come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 10. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the Lord spake. Now, who is this little horn? This is talking about Babylon. It's talking about America, right? I beheld, even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. Right? And it says in verse 12, here's a key point. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. Now, who took away their dominion? Yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. So now Daniel is explaining to us that Yahawashi, it says that Yahawashi is going to slay the beast, and that the rest of the beast had their dominion taken away. That is Yahawashi fulfilling that scripture. It is Yahawashi that's going to take away their dominion. That's why Paul says he's going to have to take it all, subjugate everybody, and then deliver it to who? The Father. So even in the book of Daniel, it's telling you that there's two judgments. It says right here, as concerning the rest of the beast, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. And that season and that time is that 1,000-year reign. And it says, verse 13, and I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. It says right here, let's keep reading. These great beasts, verse 17, verse 16, I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know that the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and shall possess the kingdom forever and ever. Now, this is taking place when? After he divided the sheep from the goats. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than its fellows, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came. So who's the Ancient of Days that's coming? Brothers don't even believe that Yahweh is going to be coming to look everybody in their goddamn face and to pass judgment on them. This is why I say there are 2 judgments. The judgment seat of Hamashiach. Then once when he delivers all power and authority to the Father, like Paul states, then the Father is going to come and judge the dead. It says, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth. Now, what kingdom is this, the 4th kingdom? This is talking about Rome, all right? And America is a split off, is a branch shoot off of Rome and Greece. So it's a part of the 4th beast. It's that little horn, okay? It says right here, thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times of laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times, 350 years. Verse 26, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. The judgment has already been set. We're reading the judgments in the scriptures. So the judgment, the Father has already declared the judgment from the beginning. All this is going into is now he's acting upon it. He's going to act upon it. Verse 27, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. The saints of the Most High. Those Pharisees that destroyed Yahawashi, that killed him, those Pharisees are not the saints of the Most High. They're the saints of the devil. Because Yahawashi says, you are your father, the devil. So Yahawashi didn't even recognize them as sons of God. So the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Here too is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me. But I kept this matter in my heart. Revelations chapter 20. It says in the book of Revelation chapter 20 and verse 12, and I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. You see, the Father is going to judge the dead. Yahawashi is not judging the dead. That authority belongs to the Father. Okay? Verse 13, and the sea gave up the dead which were in it. You see how we keep talking about dead people, dead souls, dead? Yahawashi is judging those people that are alive. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell. Now what's that word for hell? That word for hell is not Gehenna. It's talking about the grave, Hades, the grave. So death and the grave are going to be thrown into Gehenna, or the lake of fire, which the Father himself has prepared. That's why Yahawashi said, fear him that can kill soul and body. And this is where the judgment takes place, where he's going to destroy your soul. A nuclear missile, let me repeat, let me get this through your fucking thick skulls, sons of Israel. And I say this in love. All right? A nuclear missile cannot destroy the spirit, cannot destroy the soul. Therefore, those nukes cannot be the second death. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell, or the grave, delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works. At this moment in time, the elect are already resurrected and have met Yahawashi in the air and are immortal. Death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. Death and hell, the grave and death, are being thrown into a lake of fire. Now, how can death be thrown into a nuclear missile? It seems like this is a spiritual connotation, not a physical one. Which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So with that, I want to conclude by saying, family, what sayest thou? What thinkest thou? All right. There's two judgments. The judgment seat of Hamashiach and the judgment seat of the Ancient of Days. And when you look at the chronology of prophecy, I don't see where all Israel is going to make it. And And what about the judgment for the Edomites? What's going to happen to them? The scriptures say, Judith says that woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. Right? For they shall, let me just read it. The book of Judith, chapter 16 and verse 17 in the Apocrypha. It says right here, woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance of them in the day of judgment, and putting fire and worms in their flesh. And they shall feel them and weep for how long? Forever. So they're going to be weeping forever. So these Edomites are going to be weeping forever. These dead Edomites, the dead that are judged out of those books, if you were not found in the book of life, you were cast into the lake of fire. Which is what? Gehenna. All right? Shalom.